All right. I hope you enjoyed that first video, and I'm excited to dive a little bit more deeply into the second video where I introduce you to one of the four branches as I categorize them within philosophy. Okay? So in class and what we'll do on Monday is we'll continue this where we dive into what I call the branches of philosophy. Excuse me real quick. Ooh, I've been drinking all that LaCroix. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Yay. Okay. So I'm going to introduce you to the branches of philosophy. Okay. And the first branch, and this is where pretty much any intro to philosophy class would start. Okay. And Aristotle, a famous Greek philosopher, claimed the following subject was first philosophy. And so this first branch of philosophy that I want to introduce you to is called metaphysics. Okay. Metaphysics. M-E-T-A. And you can make it all one word if you want. You can put a dash in there. People write it differently. But M-E-T-A, so meta like Facebook, but it's way more so philosophical than Zuckerberg's. Meta, M-E-T-A, dash physics, P-H-Y-S-I-C-S. Okay? And in metaphysics, the easiest way to kind of understand metaphysics is it's the study of the ultimate nature of reality. Okay? The ultimate nature of reality, the philosophical study of the ultimate nature of reality. Okay? And in thinking about the philosophical study of the ultimate nature of reality, we are bound to get trippy. Okay? And so metaphysics is undoubtedly a trippy space within philosophy. And this is showcased by the fact that meta is loosely translated as going beyond. Okay? So when we do metaphysics, we are going beyond the physical. We are going beyond all these like surface level assumptions about ourselves, about the world, about why things work the way that they work, about how things came to be the way that they are. When I say things, I mean reality. Okay? So when we do metaphysics, we are going beyond the physical. And when we go beyond the physical, we're bound to ask really trippy questions. We're bound to ask really trippy things. Okay? And this is what's found in metaphysics. And like I know that all of you in some capacity or another have probably done metaphysics, because usually it happens when you're like sitting around a fire late at night and you're talking about the ultimate meaning of life. You're talking about the ultimate meaning of the universe. You're talking about how we got here. Right? And I mean, yeah, there are different takes to that question. Maybe there are different, there's evolutionary responses, there's religious responses, but still the trippiness of that question in the first place, right? Like asking questions about our place in the universe, asking about what is the universe? Can we even comprehend its infinite nature, right? Like all of those questions are metaphysical, okay? And a couple of a couple of subcategories found within metaphysics, which we'll talk about at various points throughout the semester, are the following topics. So again, all of this is bound to be very trippy. Okay? And one thing that we talk about with metaphysics is we talk about identity. Okay? And like asking this question, like, who are you, metaphysically speaking? Okay? Who are you, metaphysically speaking? How have you come to conceive of your personal identity? Are you based on who you were born to? Are you based on your friends' and peers' influence over you? How much control do you have over your own personal identity? Okay? Right? And then we take it a further step and we get a little bit more trippy because, again, under the umbrella of metaphysics, not only do we talk about identity, about what things are, and we are a thing, so what kind of thing are we? But we also metaphysically talk about time. And time is really freaking trippy. If you've not had any like trippy rabbit hole discussions about the nature of time, I highly suggest you do so because it's pretty wild. Okay? Like, what is time? How do we measure time? Like, clearly we've got hours, we've got minutes, we've got seconds, right? But how do we measure time? Who decides on how we measure time? the kind of like cultural, social, maybe religious differing interpretations of time. Okay? And then building both of these two topics together, identity, let's stay with personal identity and time. How do we, metaphysically speaking, reconcile our own personal identity through time? Let me say that again. How do we reconcile our own potentially changing personal identity through time? To take it a step further, asking this question, okay? Are you the same, again, metaphysically speaking, are you the same as you were when you were 3 years old? Okay? Are you the same, metaphysically speaking, as you were when you were 3 years old? Okay? Because clearly, physically, you would be very different. Your values within the world would be very different, I would imagine, right? Your capabilities within the world, physically, intellectually, would be very different than they are now, right? And so in a weird way, we kind of have this moment to say, well, no, I'm not the same as I was when I was 3, but I am kind of the same because, like, I couldn't be who I am now if I wasn't who I was when I was 3, right? But then again, metaphysically speaking, what maintains with our identity through that time, right? Phrased differently, how can I stay the same and yet be in constant change, right? How can I stay the same yet be in constant change, right? So I'm in my 30s, and I really don't remember being 3, frankly, okay? Which presents us with more metaphysically trippy questions, right? How can I claim that I even existed at all if I don't have a memory of it? Right? My parents could be like, oh, well, there's a picture of you when you were 3, but they also could be lying to me. I don't know, right? So if I don't remember existing as a 3-year-old, as a 2-year-old, as a 1-year-old, as an infant, right? Because none of us remember being born. So how do we know that we were born at all? Right? Like that's a metaphysical trippy question, right? And again, somebody could point to a picture and be like, yeah, there you are, you're newborn. But again, they could be lying to us. We don't know, right? And moreover, they point to us as a newborn. I guess this is like how a newborn looks, right? Like this, like, I don't know, you hand a newborn, right? But they point to a newborn and they say, yeah, that's you. You just trust them, right? Because it could be somebody else. It might be a fake newborn. I don't know, right? So again, these metaphysical trippy questions about thinking about time, that how can we be the same yet be in constant change, right? Or moreover, what's required to know that we are the same yet be in constant change, right? What makes me, right? What makes me the same me as I was when I was 3, right? And sometimes, right, like in more like religious context, people will say, well, it's your soul, right? It's your soul. Your soul maintains to keep you consistent as a being that has an identity, right? But metaphysically speaking, we must ask, well, where is your soul located, right? You've never seen it. You've never felt it. You're told that it exists, but again, how do you know, right? Does it exist up here? Does it exist here? Does it exist, like, I don't know, over in your side by your kidney, right? Like, how do you know there is a soul at all, right? So that requires more philosophical questions, okay? And the same kind of exercise can be stated when it comes to, like, consciousness, right? Somebody might say, well, maybe they don't believe in a soul, okay, for whatever reason, right? And they say, well, but your, like, consciousness makes you who you are, right? Through identity, okay? But again, where's your consciousness? Is it up here? Is it up here? Down here? Is it right here? Right? Because again, you've never, like, felt your consciousness, right? You might think you have conscious awareness of yourself within the world. But again, how do you know? Okay? And so when we think about metaphysics, like, these are the rabbit holes we go down. Okay? And sometimes they don't yield answers. Sometimes they don't offer us concrete X marks the spot final answers. And for many, that's really frustrating, right? Because a lot of us really like, tied up answers about how we're moving through the world. We like definitions or definitive truths, right? And in philosophy, we might not get that, right? We might not get definitive truths because, come to find out, getting a definitive truth about anything is maybe pretty damn difficult. So what we can do is keep asking questions. What we can do is we can keep exploring. What we can do is keep getting a little bit trippy and keep doing and being meta. Okay? And so that's what we find within metaphysics. And we'll do metaphysics mostly, We'll do metaphysics when we talk about Plato in a couple of weeks. Okay? Because Plato's whole conception of reality exists in such a way that it's deeply metaphysical. Okay? And it'll be a little trippy when we get there, which is part of the fun. Okay? But I hope that kind of like gearing and kind of getting into this space gives you a feel, in some capacity or another, gives you a feel about philosophy. And in particular, thinking about philosophy as this first discipline of all disciplines. And then under that umbrella of philosophy, the first branch that we're looking at is metaphysics. Okay? And then we'll turn to the other three branches on Monday, January 13th. And I look forward to seeing you all then. Have a safe and lovely weekend. Cheers.